Well, good evening, everyone, team. Let's start the session for today. Meanwhile, others can join parallelly. So, in the yesterday session, we started with our fast formula in the system team. As part of the introduction to the fast formula, I have explained you what is this concept of fast formula and for what purpose we are having this concept in the system, and in which are all the modules typically we are going to use the concept of fast formula, right? And within the fast formula, what is the concept of types? I mean, what is meant by types within the fast formula? And then, uh, as I told you, we have almost 120 plus types of fast formulas available in the system. So when I talk about the type, what I told you, in the application, in any of the module where we are using that particular concept of fast formula, for what purpose we are using, for which business object we are using the concept of fast formula, for each and every business object for what we are going to use the concept of fast formula, we have a designated type available, I told you. So when you are talking about the fast formula with context to the payroll, we have something, a type called Oracle payroll. Like all our fast formulas at the element level, like when we defining the element in the system, whatever the processing logic that element is taking up, the element level fast formulas will be created under the type of Oracle payroll. And similarly, we are also using the fast formula in the payroll at our element input value validation purpose. So for that, we have a type called element input value validation. If you are using for a skip rule, then we have a type called element skip rule. If you are using for a proration, then we have a type called proration rule fast formula. Similarly, in absence module, if you are using the fast formula for any of the calculations or validations, we have the designated types for each of the business object team. Something like global absence accrual formula or global absence enrollment start date rule formula or start rule formula, or global absence enrollment end rule formula. Okay. Or we have something called global absence, okay, accrual matrix formula, okay, or global absence validation formula. So we have in absence module also, in which are all the places I'm going to use the fast formula, for which object I'm going to use the formula. For different areas where we are using the formula, we have the designated types available within the fast formula team. So one should be very clear when working on the concept of fast formula. First of all, you have to be clear where I'm using the formula. In order to define which business object I'm using the formula. When I talk a business object, element is a business object, element input is a business object, or at the element level, skip rule configuration is a business object, or in the absences, enrollment start date, enrollment end date, or accrual definition, or accrual matrix level definition, or validation formula, or you have many things, even global absence vesting rule formula, vesting period rule formula, like that. So for what purpose we are using the fast formula? Be clear on that aspect team. Once you are clear, like here as per the client requirement, I have to use the fast formula to derive any particular calculation or condition. Then go to the fast formula task, create your formula under that respective type. I want to use a fast formula in my absence module in order to define my accruals in the system. If I go and create a formula under enrollment start rule, then that won't show here. In the accrual tab, it won't show. Or I want in the payroll for an element to process, I want to create a formula. I'm creating under skip rule type. whatever I am expecting to use the formula at the element level, I'm creating under skip rule type. It's no use. You have to create under the type of Oracle payroll. So designated types Oracle given. So pick up the respective type for each and every area or the business object in these modules where the formula utilization is there. For each and everything, we have the designated type. That is one everyone should be keeping in mind. Next, within the fast formula, you are majorly using two things. One is what team? Database items and input values. So I have introduced to you the structure of the fast formula yesterday team, how it is going to be like. First is what? Defaulting of DBA items and the input values. And then initializing the inputs. What are the input values that are going to use in the formula execution? And alias statements. Any DBA items, if you want to make shorten, that you can make the short names here for that one. Then local variable, what you are going to return in this particular formula, that you are initializing to. Then formula logic section. So yesterday we were discussing about this transport allowance element creation team. My client telling me that what? For every employee, transport allowance is what team? 10% of basic salary. That too, if employee is from this legal entity. Or if employee is from this legal entity, then their transport will be 5% of basic and housing together. So I created a formula based upon that logic team. So whatever the DBAs or input I want, I have defaulted them with specific values. Then input statements, alias statements, local variable, then formula logic section. Right? The context of formula logic will be if and then clauses I told you. So I have written if employee is from this legal employer, then L value is equal to basic salary divided by 12 monthly into 10%. Else, if employee is from this legal employer, then L value is equal to basic plus housing divided by 12. So monthly value I will get into 0.05, nothing but 5%. Then finally formula returning L underscore value. So this is what we have created yesterday, and I have created the element, updated the formula with our logic, and we ran the payroll to the employee, and we have seen how the transport allowance to the employee got resulted in the payroll running team. Now, within the payroll, I will talk about one more type of formula team, that is input value validation. This is one of the most used validation formula in the payroll in every implementation. What do you mean by input value validation team? So I have an element already defined in the system. What is that element team? I have housing elements. Okay. So let me go to the element. Let me go to the element and then test housing allowance. This is my element under this particular LDG which I created, which is of flat amount rule. So what I am doing team, I am tagging this element in the front end to the employee, and I am directly passing the value in the amount field. Now my client is telling, Kumar, in my organization, this test housing allowance, I'm going to process for every employee. That is a common component to every employee. But I want a validation something like minimum 1,000 and maximum 10,000. Any employee you take, only minimum 1,000 and maximum 10,000. Okay, only that is the criteria for my housing allowance. What is my element team? Test housing allowance is my element. So I'm going to tag this element directly to the employees, and in the amount field, I'm going to feed the value, whatever that's supposed to be processed for the employee. My client is telling, whenever a HR tagging the element to the employee, okay, in the amount input value, minimum 1,000, maximum 10,000. If HR giving less than 1,000, greater than 10,000 in that input, system should not allow to save that element to the employee. I want a validation like that. Will you able to give? That can be achievable through the formula team. one sample formula for input validation I will be showing team. So it looks like this. Okay, if I go here, this is one of the sample formula for the input validation team. So in the input validation, whatever the input values I want, I'm initializing team. See, initializing the input values. Then inputs are, I told you, right? Whatever the inputs you want to use in the formula, you have to start your command line with inputs are. So I'm using C. Inputs are entry value. So for an employee, if I'm trying to add that element team, let me go to my employee and I will try to add an element team. And let's check it out. What do you mean by this entry value input? So if I'm going to my client group, let me go to person management. Then let me go to any employee in the system. We'll take this employee because for that person already we tagged the element. So let me go to another employee with that name only we have 568020. Now if I go to an element entry here, my client requirement is when HR tagging an element to the employee in the system, once HR come to element entry, okay, already there is an element given to this person. Okay, let's go to this, not an issue. Edit it. Okay, correct. For the first time, when we are adding the element, what happens, team? Here I'm feeding. I want a validation here. Only minimum 10,000, maximum 10,000. Between that range only, system should allow. When HR feeding the value here and submitting for the first time, when they are adding the element, when I clicking on submit, a validation should take place. For the element input value validation, you can take up this entry value as an input team. Whatever is that entry value. So that is the input I have taken team. Okay. And here I am writing the condition. If entry value less than 1,000 or entry value greater than 20,000. In this, I am giving 20,000. Then see the condition started. Formula status is equal to E. Error. Okay. Formula message is equal to, you can print the messages in the Fast Formula also team. It could be mostly in the validation formulas, we are going to use this message printing. So formula message should be returning this one. Error. Amount must be between 1,000 and 20,000. Okay. So something I want to write a error message team. Okay. Please, okay, check with your, okay, salary admin as amount must be between 1,000 to 20,000. Whatever I want, that error message that I want to print, that validation message should throw up to the HR. That I am printing here too. So I am passing the variable formula message is equal to, this is the message which should show up to the screen, to the HR on the screen. So if entry value is less than 1,000 and greater than 20,000, if HR feeding some 500 and saving team, then this error will come because the formula is going to error that particular record. And more than 20,000 if HR feeding. So between 1,000 and 20,000 only HR can feed in that entry value team. Okay. Other than that, if anything you are feeding, then it will throw up an error message. Else, if not this one, HR following between this range only, then formula status is equal to success. Save. Formula message is nothing. Finally, we are returning formula status and formula message in this particular input value validation. Here, it is a very plain requirement. My client is telling, Kumar, here I have a couple of conditions to be added. What is that? If employee is from SCA legal entity, then I want this validation. If not from SCA legal entity, if employee is from global KSA legal entity, then I have the validation something like less than 5,000 and greater than 30,000. I have a mix and match of, I have more conditions or something I want to include. Then improvise your formula team. Okay. rather than using only input statements. If any DB items you are going to use, formula should check for the employee legal employer details, then initialize them also. First of all, default the legal employer details. Okay, I am also defaulting what did you say? Where is that formula? 204. So first I am defaulting the DB items. Okay, so you can default team whatever you want, you can default, and you can write here in the condition you are passing if per employer per legal employer name is equal to this condition, you can add if you want. You want this condition, you can add. So you can improvise team whatever you want. Let's suppose you want to check out employee grade. My client is telling, Kumar, if employee is from Tata grade A and Tata grade B, then this is the validation. Or people from grade C and grade C, I have a different validation. You use it. Whatever the DB item you want to execute in the logic, pass the DB item first, default them, then input that in the logic. In the if condition, you add that particular logic team. So this is all about whatever is coming from the client's requirements team. So let us see this sample formula utilization in the system. Okay. So what I will do team, first of all, I should go to Fast Formula task. In order to tag that to my element, let me come to Fast Formula. Okay. Let me go to Fast Formula. Let me go to Fast Formula and then create the formula, a new validation formula. I am writing like a input validation for test housing allowance. For my understanding purpose, I am writing like this thing, the name. Okay, input validation for test housing allowance. For which element I am going to use that particular formula, that I am giving to you. So you can give whatever the name that you can understand in the system, and then type. This is what I am telling you team. Types. We have different types in the system. So if you want to use that at the element input validation, we have a type available team called element input value validation team. You have all the types within the Fusion application in the formula, Fast Formula team. So here you search, somewhere you can find C, element input validation. Select that particular type team. Then any description you want to write, you can write about that one. Then as I told you yesterday team, Fast Formula are LDG specific, or it can be created globally. I'm creating with respect to my LDG. So by default, today's date it will come. I'm changing it to 1/1/1951. And let me click on continue. So I will land upon create Fast Formula screen team. Okay. So let me use this particular formula as of now. Okay. I'm using this formula team. Already there is a sample formula which I have written, something validating the entry value with this respective criteria, less than 1,000 or entry value greater than 20,000. Then it should be errored out. So you can click on submit and then click on compile, and then click on refresh. Click on refresh. So see team, my formula compiled and successfully created in the system. Now where I have to tag this formula? You created the Fast Formula with your logic in the system. Where you are going to use this one? Go to your element now. Where is your element team? Go to element screen, search with elements. Here you have your element, right? Go to elements, then SA. What is your element team? Test housing allowance. Correct. So go to this element, and for which input value you want, basically we are going to feed this one. I'm going to that amount input value. So change the date, okay, 1/1/1951. Then click on edit, correct. And then for my amount input value team, I'm going to add that formula. Here we have a scope called validation formula. So somewhere you can find CT. input validation for test housing elements. Why it is showing me in this attribute of validation formula in the input value? Because I created the formula under the type of element input value validation. If you create a formula under that type, then only it will show here team. So I'm selecting that one, input validation for test, and you can keep it here error. This is optional. Anyhow, the error status you are printing here only. It is not mandatory, either you give it or not. Click on submit team. Click on submit team. Right. Now validation formula for your input value you have tagged. Now go to the employee. What I will do, first I will delete this existing entry to the person, and I will try to assign the element freshly to the employee and check it out team. Let me delete it, whatever the entry we made. Okay, now I'm trying to add the element to the employee team as a HR, clicking on plus icon and then coming to test housing allowance. This is the element, right? Go to that element. Now I'm feeding here with something, the amount field with something 500 team. The moment I came out and I'm clicking on submit. What is the error it is showing me here? The validation formula, input validation for test housing allowance. This is the formula team. Failed with an error status when the current entry value was passed. Why it is coming up team? Why it is coming up team? Whatever the amount. Okay, basically, 1 second team, 1 second team. Just give me a second. My message should come, but it is coming up in a different way. Let me check. No, Lalita, it was there here. Both status and formula message, both we are returning here. That's what I'm trying to check, whether with the formula which I saved, did I missed it something or not, I'm trying to check. Because my message should print over there. Let me check. Okay, it's compilation also done perfectly. Formula message. Okay. Everything seems fine. Oh, it is in pay value or? Mhm. Let's check it out. $1,500 is taken up, okay, because that is within the limit only, because it is 1,000 to 20,000 means no issue that we printed, okay. Now let me click on correct and let me try to give some 25,000 something. I don't know why the formula message is not returning. Actually, it should return this error message, something like, please check with your salary admin as amount must be between 1,000 to 20,000. But it is printing up the general message that validation is taking place and the formula is getting error doubting. But typically, nothing we did wrong here. We have returned the formula message also. If it is success, blank, and if it is error, this is the message it should print. Okay. Okay, fine. Anyhow, team. But actually, I don't know what's happening in this instance, but usually this is the error message which should populate here. That for an HR, something like, please check with your salary admin as amount must be between 1,000 to 20,000, because it is not following the criteria that we mentioned. Less than 1,000 and greater than 20,000. But I have given here 25,000 team. So many times if I click also, it's of no use. Again, it will throw up an error team. Why? Because the input validation is taking up. Now, if I be in between 1,000 and 20,000, let's say I'm giving 15,000 and I submit, system will take. See, 15,000 it has taken. So this is one of the type which we can make use in the payroll team, that is from the point of element input validation. So in most of the implementation of payroll team, one is at the element processing level formulas we will be working on, or else like this, the any element specific to any input you want to keep some validation, you will be using the element input value validation formula team. So now let me move on to the absence area. Now I want to create an absence plan in the system team. A new absence plan I want to create in the system. For this, as I told you, in absence module, we have for each and every attribute level, when we configuring the plan, the formula is coming. So let me go to an absence plan. Okay. And then I'm trying to create a new absence plan in the system with respective to on 1951. Then let me create under the specific legislation. Then approval, click on continue. And then let me create a formula team, sorry, plan team. What is that? Let me create something called accrual annual leave. The name of the plan is accrual annual leave. I'm creating. That's okay. We know all these configurations team. I will quickly go ahead, active, then days. Okay. Then calendar year, I'm going with 1951. Now coming to this particular tab, I told you, right? From here, you can use fast formula for every attribute. Yesterday, I was telling, if you want to configure any enrollment start rule, something your client is telling, Kumar, for all my employees in the system, absence plan, when I'm hiring the employee, starting from his hire date, after 10 days, the plan should end. Let's suppose 2nd March, I'm hiring the employee team. So on 13th March, on 11th day, the plan should enroll to them. It's not on the starting day. If I go with as of event, what happens, team? On the same day, whenever you are hiring the employee, system will check the eligibility profile at the plan level. And if employee getting qualified to that one, plan will enroll to the employee with effective to his hire date. But my client is telling, I don't want the enrollment to be starting to the employees on their hire date. Hire date plus 10 days. On 11th day, the plan should enroll. That is my client requirement telling them. Okay. So how can I achieve that one? I told you, we have something called global absence enrollment start rule formula, or enrollment end rule. You want to make use of formula, you can make use here, team. Or else, when you are configuring the accruals team, okay, you can define the entire accruals of the formula either through matrix, entire accruals of the accrual plan, either through matrix or through formula, I told you. Simply, if I select the formula team, this entire section will be collapsed. Only one attribute will open called formula team. See now, there is something called accrual formula. So if I want to define a formula to my accrual plan, where I can mention monthly accrual, yearly accrual, ceiling, carryover, vesting period, okay, proration, everything with respective to the absence plan, I can define a fast formula and I can assign here team. If not, I can go with matrix. Even when you going with a matrix option, you have the fast formula for several things. Like example, vesting rule is there team. What is a vesting rule? We know already in absence, we have seen. I told you, you can make use of elapsed period and you can define like first 3 months employees should have their vesting rule defined, something like that. But here my client is telling, Kumar, for all employees who are enrolling with this plan, I don't want a common vesting rule. Like people from HR department and sales department, okay, they should have 3 months of vesting. People from finance and purchasing department, they should have 2 months of vesting. Other than these departments, all employees will have vesting of 1 month. How can I do that in that case? I have an option to define vesting rule. For all employees, it is one rule. Then okay, directly I can, without using a formula, I will go with elapsed period and I can define. But my client is telling, with respective to department, they have different vesting rule for that particular plan. How can I achieve that? I have to make use of formula then. I have to go and define vesting period formula type and I have to assign here. Or let's say my client is telling, okay, this is okay vesting rule. I'm not touching that one. Coming to the annual accrual limit. So here also we have a formula team. My client is telling, Kumar, people who are eligible to this plan in my organization, I have different accrual rules for them. Means what? If employee is from North Business Unit, from sales department and HR department, who are in the grade of A and B, they will have the accrual of yearly 24 days. But people of South B, and then from this particular department or from this particular location, they have yearly 30 days of accrual. Monthly at the rate of 2.5 days, accrual should happen. For rest of the people, 24 days, monthly 2 days. My accrual rates are different. Team. I can rely upon matrix or else even I can directly configure here. Team. Make use of a formula. Without a formula, I have only one option, flat amount, and I can define only one amount. But all my people are not under same slab. They're into different, my client requirement is basically. Then use a formula, create your annual accrual limit formula here. Or for ceiling also, my client is telling, for all my employees, ceiling is not a common requirement. Okay, if it is common, I can go with flat amount and ceiling limit, I'm giving 90 days. But for ceiling also, my client is telling people who are working in the locations of Hyderabad and Chennai, they have the ceiling limit of 90 days. And people who are working other than these locations in Delhi, Noida offices, they have the ceiling limit of 120 days. How can I do that? I have to write a formula in that case also. I cannot configure in this way. If all people who are eligible to the plan are under the same roof, Then I can define manually without using a formula T. So for everything, you have the fast formula utilization. So what is your client requirement with specific to that plan configuration decides at which are all the levels we can use the formula T. So my client coming up with all these levels, annual accrual limit is having different requirements for different people. Ceiling is coming with different requirement. Carryover is coming with different requirement, or rollover is coming with, rather than configuring the formulas individually for all these objects team, simply you define everything in one single formula. That is the beauty that we have within the type of accrual formula team. For the entire absence plan, Oracle given as a concept of global absence accrual formula team. Everything with related to the plan, you can define under one formula and directly I can assign here team. If you don't want to use that one, then go with a matrix at individual level, define all the formulas for each of the objects separately. Vesting formula, ceiling formula, annual accrual, carryover. Even in the matrix, when you're creating the matrix also, you can maintain all these things: vesting, ceiling, annual accrual, carryover. Define an expression or calculation or condition, or you can maintain your formula here also. Either you can write the formula here, or simply just to go with the type of selection formula and define here team everything. So these are mostly used formulas in absence module team. Okay, so how to define the global absence accrual formula? Let us see one of the sample formula here team, and then we will proceed with the configuration of this plan. How it looks for the absence perspective team. Payroll formulas and absence formulas will be obviously different because the return values are different. There we are returning L underscore value, or if it is an input value, returning the entry value, formula status, all these things. But in absence module, as it is an accrual formula, we are going to return all these things in the formula team. The vesting, ceiling, annual accrual, monthly accrual, carryover, all these things we are going to return with our logic team. So one such sample formula for the absence module is this one team. So here, till this entire section we know, comment section, just for our information purpose I have given team, these all are not required. Okay, anything that you want to write a description about a formula, I told right team, you can keep it in comment out like this, starting with ending with that and starting with this one. So just the description of the formula, what is the formula name, type, and on what basis I'm creating the formula. Like this formula applies the accrual, ceiling, carryover, proration, vesting, then ceiling, everything in the formula based upon the employee length of service and in which plan he enrolled into. So now I'm going to show you one sample formula depending upon the employee length of service. Okay, if my client comes up with this requirement team, I have a plan, Kumar, something called, what is the plan that we are defining now? Plan name. Okay, something called accrual annual leave, which I'm going to provide to my employees. But for this requirement will be based upon employee length of service. Let's say, means what? If employee, okay, who is working in the organization, who is enrolling into this plan as per the eligibility profile, if employee length of service means his experience in the organization team, how many years he is working since in that organization. So whoever my employees completed 3 years, okay, 3 years or less than 3 years, let's suppose team, or 3 years or greater than 3 years, or less than, you can take anything. If people are below 3 years experience, LOS, less than 3 years of LOS, for them, yearly, I'm going to provide 24 days. Yearly 24 days means what? Monthly 2 days. People who are greater than 3 years and less than 5 years, people who is having experience between 3 to 5, for them, I will give yearly 30 days. at the rate of monthly 2.5 days accrual will happen. I'm just giving you some requirement team. Okay, 2.5 days my client is telling. Then people who having greater than 5 years of experience, greater than 5 years length of service, who is having, for them I will give yearly 35 days. Let's assume as of now. Okay, yearly 35 days. So divided by 12, whatever it is, that is the monthly thing. So see here, my client coming up with this requirement for annually. How can I configure this? Less than 3 years means 24 days per year. 3 to 5 years means 30 days per year. Greater than 5 years employee working in the organization, for that people, yearly entitlement is 35 days. How can I achieve that requirement? First of all, I have to calculate the employee's length of service, correct? In my formula, I have to write a condition first of all. And first of all, I have to check, first of all, that fellow enrolled in this plan or not. If employee enrolled in this plan, then if employee length of service. So first in the formula team, I have to write my calculation starting with whether employee enrolled in the plan or not, checking the enrollment of the employee, and then checking the employee length of service. So I have to calculate employee length of service. How can I calculate length of service team? Hire date to till date. Am I right or wrong? Hire date to till date. How many days I will get the counting? These two if I take as a reference. Okay. Somewhere employee joined in 2020 January 2nd. Today is March 2nd, 23. If I take hire date and till date, I will get total number of days he is working in the organization team. Correct. So number of days divided by 365. I will get the number of years, correct? So these all I'm writing theoretically here. I have to put all these conditions in my formula team. That is what my client requirement for accrual annually. So based upon the length of service, they are going to provide the accruals to the employees. But I want to find out first of all, whether that employee enrolled in this plan or not, and whether employee having the length of service in which slab he is falling into. So I have to calculate the length of service also. Hire date to till date. If I check total number of days, the system will give me 1000 days or 1100 days. 3 years or 4 years means approximately something like that. Divided by 365. I will get L of LOS, length of service details of the employee. Then I have to write my logic. If employee length of service less than 3, then accrual is equal to yearly accrual, annual accrual is 24, monthly 2 days, vesting is this much, carryover is this much, ceiling is this much. Else, if employee is between greater than 3 and less than 5, annual accrual is 30, monthly accrual is 2.5, like that, I have to write the condition. This is the requirement if client comes with you. How you will write this requirement? So that is about, this is the formula which that requirement best fits in team. So this is the formula or one of the sample formula for the global absence approval type. So here, first of all, defaulting of database item. What are the DBAs I require team? I require to check out first of all, plan name. I have to check whether employee enrolled in the system or not, correct? So I require plan name. In order to check the plan name, the database item is name ANC. For absences, the database item name start with ANC ABS. So this is the DBA item which will store in the system the annual, not annual, absence plans in the system team. This DBA item will store absence plan name in the system, ANC absence plan. And what database item I'm also using? Plan unit of measure. Okay, when this plan configured, what is the unit of measure using? It will store UOM information, whether it is in days, calendar days, or weeks, months, hours, what. So these two database items I require team. And also I told you, right, in order to calculate the length of service, I require hire date of the employee in the system because I have to calculate hire date to till date. So per assignment relationship, original date of hire. I'm also using this DBA item team. This will store employee hire date in the system. For every employee, hire date will be there, right? So per assignment relationship, original date of hire will store employee hire date information. So these three DBA items I'm going to use in our formula. Those three I have defaulted with this. See, default for, as it is in a date format, we have to default it with some date. So I'm taking maximum Oracle suggested end date for everything, 4712 December 31st and date. And they are in the character format. I'm defaulting with some character A and character D. Okay, plan name and unit of measure. It is in days D. So database item defaulting I have done. Next team, formula section begin here. Now I told you, right, in order to execute this logic, I have to check first of all if employee enrolled in the plan and also calculating the length of service. This logic I have to first execute in my system. First, I should know what is the length of service of the employee. For that team, see here, I'm writing a logic here. This is a local variable team I'm going to use. L underscore number of days. First, I want total number of days that employee been in the organization team. That I am writing here. See, L underscore number of days is equal to days between. So here I'm using a function, get context, effective date, and relationship hire date. So between days between original hire date, this is a DBA which is going to store the employee hire date, and the effective date. Effective date means the day on which you are running the accruals to the employee, the live system date, current date. Today I'm going to run the accruals for the employee team. Today it will take. Effective date means days between today's system date and relationship original date of hire. So I will get total number of days of the employee team in the system. And now the local variable I'm passing to have my length of service team. L underscore length of service is equal to number of days divided by 365. Now this will result the experience of the employee, whether he is having 1 year experience, 2 year length of service, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. So this is a small formula which I have written to calculate the employee length of service. Okay, this being executable by this team. Next, I am checking if employee enrolled into this plan or not. Now my logic starting team. If ANC absence plan name is equal to, now we have to pass our plan name. What is our plan name? Accrual annual leave. So I'm changing it to our plan now. Okay. If employee, ANC absence plan name is equal to accrual annual leave, then if absence plan unit of measure is in days, okay, D means days, then if length of service, now here employee length of service calculation done, less than 3, then accrual is equal to 24 divided by 12, monthly accrual, ceiling 100 units, ceiling 100 days, because unit of measure days, that will be counted. Carry over 50 days, proration factor, vesting, if you want to give 30 days for or 60 days, you can give. Then vesting unit of measure is in what? Months or calendar days, whatever it is, you can give. Carry over proration ceiling. Else, if length of service is equal to or greater than 3 and length of service less than 5, 2 conditions I have inserted. Then accrual is equal to 30 divided by 12. Ceiling is 120. Then else, if length of service is equal to or greater than 5 years, then accrual is equal to yearly 40 divided by 12, ceiling, all these things. Finally, we are returning all these things in the formula: accrual, ceiling, carryover, vesting, proration, all these things. So everything with respective to the accrual definition of the employee, we can manage in a one single formula. This is one of the sample formula with respective to the requirement like this thing, based upon length of service. If your client is telling you, Kumar, if employee, okay, length of service, okay, And also I want to check if employee is from okay marketing department and purchasing department. They will have yearly 24 days. Length of service is less than 3, but employee is from sales department and finance department. They have yearly 12 days. Something your client expecting the calculation based upon the criteria of departments also. Then improvise the formula. Default your department database item which will store, like how this is storing absence plan name, and in this formula how it is storing the legal employer name. If you want use a department, initialize the database item which will store the department information or department name, and write the logic. If plan name is equal to this one, then if unit of measure is equal to, then if again one more condition you write, department is equal to this, then length of service is less than is equal to 3, then accrual is equal to like this. So whatever is your conditions or the criteria coming up as part of the requirement, make use of the DBA items in the system or the inputs in the system and write your logic or the local variables, whatever it is. So this is one of the sample formula which we can make use for this requirement. Now let us try to go to the fast formula first of all and try to create your formula team. If you want to use a formula in your absence module, that too in the accrual plan definition team, create a formula. I'm creating with our name something like accrual annual leave. Okay, accrual annual leave formula. The name I'm giving like this. Type we have to create under global absence accrual. This is of what nature team? This is of what nature team? Accrual definition. If you want to use a formula here, if you want to get your formula here team, someone created in the system, the formula related to this type, it is coming. But if you want your formula to show here, create under the type of global absence accrual. Okay. And then I'm giving that formula name here. Then LDG is SA. Then 11-1951, continue. And then what is my formula team here? Control C, and then I'm using this formula. I will share all these sample formulas to you after the class team. Okay, I'm saving it and submit. Now formula will fail. See why? I will tell you. Let me compile, refresh. It's saved. Why? Because okay, PB item accrual annual due. Okay, all these things are given fine. Okay, right team. The formula I have created in the system now, that is accrual formula type. Now, if you select your formula under the type of global absence accrual, you can find your formulas coming up under that C. Currently in this system, 2 formulas are there under the type of global absence accrual. Now come here team. It will not show immediately. Why? Because we are working on a cloud-based application. What I will do is first I will simply save and close, and then I will come back again to the plan team SA. Then I will search with our plan accrual annual leave plan. Okay. Then go to the accruals tab. 11-1951. Okay. Then edit, correct, and here I will add team. I'm going to the formula. Then see our plan comes here, accrual annual leave formula. Select it, and then you can choose whatever is your option of your plan configuration thing, the repeating period, whatever it is, everything you can give accordingly. And rest of the things also like interest and balances, what you want to configure. Okay, all these things you can define and click on save and close team. So this formula you have created with respect to the utilization of fast formula thing. See, all my approvals I have defined with a formula. Now, if I go and enroll this plan to the employee team, as per this particular criteria, okay, employee approval will happen. If you want, I will quickly test it out also. let me go to any employee in the system in that respective LDG related legal employer. Let me go to person management. Okay. Then salary test, we will go with that employee only. Then coming to the absences, absence record, and let us try to enroll a plan. First of all, I'm coming as an employee and enrolling the plan team. Where is it? The accrual annual leave plan with effective of January 1st. I'm enrolling team because he joined in January 1st. With that date, I'm enrolling. So this is the plan. Then come run accrual for selected plan. I'm trying to run the accrual team now. For the first month, I will try to run January month. Okay. See, why 2 days came to the employee when I tagged the plan? System checking whether the employee enrolled to this plan or not. He enrolled. Next, this employee having length of service what? He joined when? Go to employment. What is the hire date of the employee? What is the hire date of the employee? In January 1st, 2023, employee hired. As per our formula, when system checked for length of service, days between effective date. So today I have enrolled the plan. I am running the accruals with effective of January 31st. Accruals I am running with this date. So days between effective date 31st and hire date of the employee is January 1st. Means what? Only 30 days he joined by that time. So his length of service is obviously less than 3 years. If it is less than 3 years, what I have given accrual per month? 24 divided by 12 means monthly 2 days, yearly 24. The meaning is. So that is why formula resulted with 2 days of accrual tagging to the employee. The same plan, when I enroll to an employee who is having the length of service greater than 3 and less than 5, for that fellow balance will come as 2.5. If the person greater than 5 years who is there in the organization, if I'm enrolling the plan and running 40 divided by 12, whatever is the value, 3 days or something, that will be coming up monthly to those employees. So this is one of the sample formula in the absence accrual definition team. One more type of formula which I want to introduce to you. In some of the projects, we will be using that also. What is that team? See, with respective to absence module, or if you go to next our goals or performance module or compensation benefits team, we have a concept called eligibility profile. Correct team? Everywhere we are seeing, I told you this eligibility profile concept is a global concept. In other modules also we are going to use. Why we are using the eligibility profile team? In order to check employees qualification or eligibility to that particular object. With respective to absence, if you talk, we are creating the absence plan, and whatever the eligibility profile we are tagging to the plan, whenever hiring happening in the system, obviously employee getting enrolled into the plan based upon the eligibility profile only. Now let me go to the eligibility profile team. My client group absences. Okay, my client group absences, and then I will come to eligibility profile. I think someone was asking me, if I remember correctly, Kumar, when we defining the eligibility profile, Oracle given the standard criteria options here, like personal level parameters Oracle given, then employment parameters, derived factors, couple of parameters Oracle given. But my client requirement for the eligibility criteria is not getting satisfied with these parameters. Many of you, while practicing this concept of eligibility also, might be triggering this point. Whatever attributes are available, okay, based upon that, if my client requirement coming, I can make use of that filters and I can create the eligibility profile. But my client asking me, Kumar, based upon the employee category, I want my eligibility to define. Means what team here? I will open new tab. While we hiring the employee, we have something called employee category team. Okay. Something like if I go to person management and if I search with any employee in the system, our employee only will take. While we hiring the employee at the assignment level, we have an attribute called team employee category. If you could remember on this assignment level, somewhere I can see worker category. Sorry. Okay, let me edit. Correct. We have several attributes, right, team? Something like worker category. Here we have the option like worker category team. So I told you it's a lookup basically. We can maintain whatever the values you want. Something like if you want to categorize your employees like blue collared employees, apprentice employee, white collared employees, civils, whatever it is you can maintain within the employees. If you want to categorize them on which specific levels or something, team, you can maintain that one. My client asking, Kumar, my annual leave, okay, my annual leave eligibility should be based upon the worker category information I'm capturing at the employee level. Because while I'm hiring the employee, I'm capturing what type of category person this is in the organization, whether he is a blue collared employee or a white collared employee, whatever it is, I'm capturing here in the worker category. I want an eligibility based upon this worker category. Will you able to give that one? But Oracle, unfortunately, not given that attribute. At the employment level, if you check team, do you find anywhere worker category? No, no, there is no attribute team. But client asking the eligibility profile of the annual leave depending upon that. People who are working as a blue collar, the worker category as, or apprentice, okay, or part-time, only for them only this plan is eligible. Based upon worker category, they want the eligibility to this plan. But unfortunately, Oracle have not given any attribute of the employee employment related to worker category here. Then how can I define the eligibility profile? Or let's say I will come with one more requirement. What is that, team? On the assignment screen, we know, right? We have the concept of DFF. We can create our custom flex fields, correct? So on the assignment level, my customer asked me, Kumar, in my organization, I want to capture employee project details. Like employee will be working in different projects. So every employee, while I'm hiring, at the assignment level, I will be capturing their employee project details. So, okay, we have the concept of DFF. I have created as part of my solution designing. I refer to the client that on the assignment level, we will create one additional field called employee project name. So while hiring the employee, you capture the details in that. Okay. That is from the core HR point. Okay. You have created one custom field called employee project name, and HRs when hiring the employee at the assignment level, they are capturing that information. Via DFF, we have given the solution. Now client is telling, coming to the absence module, Kumar, I want eligibility of my annual leave based upon that particular field you have created, employee project name, which is a DFF, custom attribute which you have created on the assignment level. If this is also, I don't have any option at my eligibility profile level. I cannot create it in eligibility level. Now this one is what? Employee eligibility based upon project name. Whoever the employee is working in project A and project Y, only these people are eligible to annual leave plan. That is what my requirement of the client. But seeded attributes only, or Oracle not given all the things. That is my custom DFF I'm creating on my assignment level. How can I define an eligibility now based upon my DFF attribute of the employee team? That's why Oracle within the eligibility profile also given the utilization of Fast Formula. If you go to others tab, okay, you have something called formula here. So you can create a Fast Formula with your conditions and assign your formula here and create your eligibility profile team. So we have the eligibility profile type fast formula also in the system. For that, you have to create a formula under the type of this one. When you create any eligibility type of formula, you have something like participation and rate eligibility. There is a type available called team participation and rate eligibility. Create a fast formula under this particular type. Then it will show in your eligibility profiles when you're creating in the system team. So if you are seeing the existing options here, means someone like you and me, when practicing the eligibility type formula created in the system team, these all are. So you can assign, someone created some test FF. I'm tagging the formula here. In this formula, we are going to write that conditions like employee, worker category, or project name, DFF, DB item you can use and write the condition with the values what you want, or worker category. So one such sample formula here I have kept in for the eligibility profile type. So I am configuring the eligibility profile based upon employee category and person type. My client is telling, Kumar, I want an eligibility profile based on worker category. So backend database name for this attribute is employee category team. This one, and based upon this person type, I want to generate an eligibility. So I'm defaulting my DB items. Per assignment employee category meaning. It will store the employee worker category options. And this DBA will store employee person type, whatever is the person type of the employee. So this is a local variable I'm passing team, and here my condition. If employee category is equal to blue collar, or if employee is equal to category is equal to civil servant, or employee category is equal to consultant, whatever is it, all the lookup values in that particular field I'm passing in my logic. So these all employees are eligible to that particular plan. And assignment person type is equal to employee. So his person type should be employee, and he might be blue collared, consultant, or permanent, like whatever we are seeing here. These all options we can write here too, whatever you want here. Then eligible is equal to yes. Else, if employee is not from any of these things, then eligibility is equal to no. Finally, we are going to return the eligibility from this formula. So this is also widely used concept only, but example I'm telling the requirement might be in this, but in real time, whatever is your client requirement to that, you have to create your fast formula logic with respect to that area team. So these are the some of the most used, formula types within the application team. So I will be sharing all the documents that what I have explained, what I have mentioned team. Something is something like the entire fast formula explanation PowerPoint, and then custom fast formula guide, which will be explaining you about different structural level or logical level formula, how to configure and how to execute. That all with step by step this particular document is going to explain, and all the database items what we have in the system. And also this one team, this absence formula, all the fast formula dump, across payroll and also absence module, different types of formulas we can find, like global absence approval, only different logics. If it is a child care leave, family leave, or paternity, marriage, unpaid, or you can find here eligibility profile related types or input value validation, different types of formulas what we are going to use in most scenarios. With that examples, already some materials where we have configured the formulas for our clients. We have collated all that and we have prepared a document team. This one also I will share with you, which will help you in real time when you are going to work in your projects team. Okay. Now let me go to the questions. Okay, Pooja. Okay, Pooja noted that one. And I have written variable in fast formula result. Okay, that one we have found. And what is the question, Lalita, here? Can we create payroll type element along with input validation type? I mean, what do you mean by this?
Actually, Kumar, you have created input input validation type formula for restricting the values on input value level. Okay,
Correct.
so that is for input value. But let's suppose I'm just having amount and pay value input values, and I just wanted to pay out the same amount, whichever I'm entering in amount, and then the pay value should be the same. If I'm entering 50 in amount, then 50 should be a pay
That
value for.
understood. That obviously by default will happen. Whatever you are feeding in amount, that value only will pass in the pay value whenever you are going to run the payroll. It won't process anything else unless at the formula level you are changing the logic.
If I'm having some different logic, I'm not, I don't want to directly feed the amount to pay value. There is some logic on amount, and then I wanted to feed to pay value. Then I need to write the different formula.
In the Oracle payroll type, I mean at the element level, whatever the formula we are tagging, in that only you are going to write.
So in this case, I need to create two formula, one for input validation type,
another for
one
processing.
for processing. Right,
Yeah.
right. That was my question.
Yeah. And then can we see one example for calling PLSQL functions in Fast Formula? Actually, to that extent, we are not covering it. As such, it is not a core technical training. Basically, in technical training, I used to cover close to 5 sessions on Fast Formulas. But okay, fine. I will try to get some time to discuss that one.
It would be good if you provide the sample example, then
I will give you. I will give you, definitely. Don't worry on that. I will give you. Okay. So team, by this we completed our
also
payroll.
correlation is also not you have explained in Fast Formula, so that is also the important part to be covered.
Did get you what you want?
A proration part, how we can just
see, example point of view, I have taken 4 or 5, right? So every type of formula I cannot explain, but anyhow I will be sharing you that details also. One proration from the point of absence and from one proration from the point of element also we will be looking at. Okay.
Okay. If you could share the sample, then it is fine.
I will give you, no problem. See, all the types, mostly whatever the types we have in the formula, everything we have consolidated here. Whatever you are asking, the proration or retro, or see some type which I have kept here. It is for enrollment.
Stop. One more thing is stop functionality.
So here we have partial accrual proration. This partial period, not the proration. Let me check.
Because I'm currently working on payroll, so I'm just seeing a scenario like proration and this
retros might be
retro enabled part is in very much important.
See, actually, what happens with proration is, Lalita, by default, the standard proration formula entry changes for proration when we enabling will come at the element level. But if client asking us to change that one, something they want to go on a basis of yearly 365 days or 366 days as a benchmarking something, or monthly 30 days they want to take as a benchmark when they calculating the salary something, we require to customize that and we have to derive that calendar days, then prorating the values accordingly, everything. Okay, no problem. I understood your requirement. I will get it done. I will share with you, not an issue. Okay, I will consolidate it.
Thank you.
And tomorrow we are going to start with our security administration team. So in our earlier discussion, way back 2 months back when we started the course, the very second and third sessions, I have taken the concept of security team, where we created user accounts in the system and how to assign the roles to the user account, that we have seen. I mean, user management concept we have seen with respect to security. We are left with role management. When I talk about the role management, I have to tell you what is a role, how many types of roles we have in the system, and how to customize the role. Means depending upon our client requirement, how we have to create our own custom roles, that we will call it as data roles. How to enable security restrictions to them or functionality restrictions to them. And also the concept of auto provisioning. Means what? HR cannot manually assign each and every role to the employees. When they're hiring, user account is creating by the system automatically. In the same way, according to his assignment or the job he's going to take in that assignment, the respective roles also to be auto assigned to him. That also we have to see. So next 2 to 3 hours, we are going to discuss the concept of security with respective to the role management. Okay. And then followed by, we can see workflows or HDL, HSDL part, and then further concepts accordingly. Okay. Right, team, then thank you everyone for joining. Let's join back tomorrow and we'll continue our further topics. Thank you everyone. Good night.